Hello and welcome to Behind the Bell. I'm your host, Jeremy Skule, Chief Marketing Officer at Nasdaq. This episode takes us on a special meaning as we have just opened the markets with a re-engineered sound for the opening bell. Starting today, a reimagined bell sound at Nasdaq will replace our open and closing of the U.S. equity markets. The bell is significant in its sound and represents the beginning of a remarkable journey for companies joining the Nasdaq family. The debut of this new sound coincides appropriately with Sonos celebrating its IPO. Sonos is now listed on Nasdaq under the ticker symbol SONO. I'm happy to also announce that Nasdaq has partnered with Sonos to help us redesign our bell sound. Joining me now is to talk about the meaning, the process, and what it all means for the U.S. equity markets is two-time Grammy winner Giles Martin. Giles serves as a sound experience leader for Sonos. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks, Jeremy. Nice to be here.
We're thrilled to have you. So tell me, what was it like today opening up the U.S. equity markets to a sound that you developed?
I think it's an incredible journey for everyone at Sonos. I mean, I've been with the company for 4.5 years. The company's been going for 16 years. And to hear, I mean, it's not just, I mean, the bell sound that we made along with Nasdaq was fun and collaborative. But the real story is about where the company goes on from here for us. And it's just a thrill to be just a very small part of this amazing journey.
So we have a large viewership out there watching this. Tell us a little bit about your background and your journey in music.
Well, I am a record producer, music director. I have made shows in Vegas. I made records, and I was approached by Sonos about 5 years ago. I was working in LA with Paul McCartney. And they came and showed me what they were doing, brought me some speakers, and I took them home and suddenly found I was listening to music more. And I met the guys, and I liked them. I liked the people. And I joined them as sound experience leader, so overlooking sound for the company. And everyone sort of said, was it some sort of endorsement thing? I was like, no, I'm heavily involved in the engineering department and incredibly proud to be part of it.
That's great. It's such an exciting time. So the music industry overall has gone through some significant changes over the last 5 years. What do you think is most notable?
Well, there's a massive change. I mean, we were very lucky at Sonos that we realized that streaming was becoming the way people listen to music.
Yeah.
And we realized that, you know, these speakers are portals for music, all the music in the world in your home. And we got on that train. In fact, we developed that train, if you like. And so the way the industry's changed, the industry is now doing, the music industry itself, which I'm part of, is doing incredibly well through revenues through streaming. And the way, you know, you can now listen to anything anytime you want in any room in your home.
Yeah, it really does make you listen to music a lot more, which
Yeah.
is wonderful. So going back to defining this bell for opening the U.S. equity markets, tell me what that creative process was like inside Sonos and also partnering with Nasdaq.
Well, I mean, we were kind of honored and delighted to be with Nasdaq, and we talked about what would be fun. I mean, what's Sonos known for? We're known for great sound and sound innovation, and Nasdaq has a bell. So we, as two companies, we got together and said, okay, let's try and do something. And the idea behind the bell was, let's try and make a bell sound that isn't made with a bell. I mean,
right.
the fascinating thing about sound is sound is so expressive. It is obviously all around us, and it stimulates our lives and makes us feel good. And so we created a bell sound using sounds like, you know, glasses tinkling, coins dropping, and there's a wonderful sound designer called Chris Jenkins, who's actually won 3 Oscars. He works with me with Sonos. He won the Oscar for Mad Max recently. He is quite brilliant.
Great movie.
And he and I sat together and said, okay, we wander around our homes and we phone each other and go, what sounds like a bell that isn't a bell? And he had these Tibetan bowls. I tried hitting glass with brushes and screwdrivers, and we collaborated and came up with a sound which kind of like it's a celebration sound. It's a great sound for Nasdaq.
Yeah, we are very excited about the sound, and we feel also it's giving us a differentiated asset in our opening and closing ceremonies.
Well, I think it shows how progressive Nasdaq are in the way they think about technology and companies, that they're willing to, they're willing to experiment with this, and it's, and it was great. It was actually the mission, and working with you guys as well and getting your feedback. It was kind of doing something that was fun for everyone.
Yeah, it was really exciting. Now, had you worked with Chris before?
Well, yeah, so the way Sonos approached me originally because they wanted someone from the creative community to just get involved in the sound of the products, and as we moved into home theater, I realized that I know about music. I've mixed a lot of records, but I didn't know too much about film. I'd done 3 films. And so I Googled who won the Oscar for Best that year, and it was
Really?
Chris Jenkins. I sort of basically stalked the guy. And then I worked on a Beatles film called 8 Days a Week with Ron Howard. And Chris and I were put together in a room, and it took me a while and eventually I said, hey, do you want to come and join Sonos with me? And he said, yes. That was a year ago. And we worked on the Sonos Beam together, which has just come out. It's a remarkable speaker. And he is the nicest man, but also brilliant at what he does.
It sounds like the Sonos culture is this amazing collaborative engine. Tell us what it's like to be a part of this company.
Well, I wouldn't, it's the only company I've ever worked for. It's the only proper job I've ever had, funny enough, so you could argue that. I've always been working, but I was fascinated that they were willing to have me on board, and they were willing to listen. A lot of speaker companies approach me and approach us professionals in general. There's a lot of very good people involved with Sonos.
Right.
Because they want you to go, this is what I like.
Right.
And ironically, Sonos was the first company that wanted to listen to what we had to say, opposed to just going, it's great, where's the cash?
Right.
And I think that shows that they want to progress and they want to listen. They realize that there's an element of people listening to music in the home that's important for them, and so they're great to work with.
That's great. What do you think's coming next for Sonos? Big day today, obviously.
Well, I mean, the future is the sonic internet and sonic culture in the home.
Right.
We are interacting with our products way more than we ever were, and Sonos's competition is not other. It's the silent home.
Yep.
And
Yep.
we find that people buy Sonos and they listen to more music, and they have better lives. They live happier lives.
Yeah.
I mean, it's what happens. It's why I got involved in Sonos, is because suddenly my wife and I and my kids were listening to music that we didn't know and
Right.
we discovered, and so that's part of the. So with Sonos, it's just expanding and filling more homes with music.
And you talked about enriching people's lives. Is that truly the power music brings to someone?
That's why I love music. Music is in my father was a record producer called Giles Martin. He lived through music. I've spent my whole life in studios with him, and now I'm getting on a bit. I've been in studios for all my life, and music is something that touches all of us, and it's important. It's never, we take it for granted, but at the same time, if it goes away, we
Right.
really miss it. And
Yeah.
I think that, so it's great to be part of that progression where you can just have any sound you want in the home.
It is amazing. It does make a difference in mood, demeanor, and everything. So I have to ask, do you remember the first song you ever listened to on a Sonos speaker?
Well, I did, because actually Sonos came to me and asked me what, this is the original Sonos Play 1, and I tested, and I listened to an album called Color of Spring by Talk Talk, which is an 80s record
Right.
that I know really well.
Right.
And this is what we did. There's two ways that people like me and there's a team that listen to music. We listen to sound and we listen to music, and I was
Right.
listening to sound, because you listen to go, is this, I was kind of surprised. It was like this small speaker that made this great sound. I was thinking, how what are the dark arts behind it? So I tested it for sound, and Color of Spring is a great record, but it's also a great sounding record.
It really is. And so as we sit here and think about the momentous day that Sonos has had, and the amazing product that you produce, how do you see the company and your role within it evolving over the course of time?
Well, I mean, obviously, we're constantly trying to innovate. We are relentlessly progressive. The way we look at products and the way we look at what people need in the home. I mean, for the Sonos Beam, for instance, is a product that is kind of the only speaker you'll need in your living room. It does great home theater. It's fully voice enabled. We stream every music service. We're agnostic when it comes to music services, and so we'll just progress. And there's so many different worlds of listening out loud and personal listening that we'll look into.
Yeah, that's why I was so excited to have this conversation and for Sonos to partner with Sonos, because the Nasdaq brand is centered on this concept of relentless possibility, and we really feel that this partnership embodies a lot of those same things.
Yeah, for this, I mean, this is a huge step in our journey, but it's just a step in our journey.
Right.
I mean, the possibilities we have are so great for us. We are a brand that has really affects people's lives, and we're a brand that's growing.
Yeah.
And so, we're just looking forward to this renewed impetus or this progression we're having, just expanding, and we've got some, really fun stuff coming up.
Great. Well, Giles, thank you so much for the partnership. We're thrilled at Nasdaq to be partnering with Sonos, and thrilled that they're listed here today on the Nasdaq, at the Nasdaq market site in Times Square, ticker SONO. Giles, thank you so much.
Thank you, Jeremy. Thank you so much.